Coming up in this week's episode, there is nobody in this world who needs to destroy somebody else and bring them down unless they feel inferior to them, threatened by them. Welcome to The Liberation Effect with me, your host, Helen Villas. Welcome back to The Liberation Effect. Today I am joined by Lucy, who's seeking clarity, understanding, validation, but most importantly, how to get rid of the critical voice of her mother inside her head. So Lucy, I'm going to hand over straight away to you, and ask you, is that a good enough summary, and what you would like to get from our time together today?
Yeah, that's a really good summary. I previously had therapy for 10 years and I would really like some expert advice and clarity around the situation and what I've been through. I've done a lot of processing in the last 20 months since I've been non-contact, but I know I've still got, quite a way to go. And yeah, I'd love to understand how the abuse I went through has shaped me and how I can process it and change it.
What is it? How do you think it's shaped you? What is it that you feel?
I feel like I've realised recently that my self-worth has been zero, and I feel I've had no confidence. I've never believed in myself, particularly when it comes to self-image. I've never felt good enough.
And you're smiling as you say that. What's the smile about?
I don't know, really. Maybe because I've recently started to understand my self-worth. And I've, since realising my family dynamic, I have been doing a lot of work on myself. And I've started to have a little bit more confidence in myself. I've always been lucky with friendships. Actually, I've got one really good friend that has been my lifelong friend, and their family has always helped me, and I think that has been my saving grace. They were very important and still are, but in my teenage years.
You say lucky with friendships. What do you mean by lucky?
Well, I feel like because I wasn't in a living home and wasn't taught what healthy relationships are. I have got, one best friend whose parents were like my parents growing up, even though I didn't understand what was going on. They really tried to protect me, I can see with hindsight now. So I do feel really fortunate, that I've had that really close bond with my friend, my best friend, even though I have actually realised that have I been my authentic self even with her over the years? Probably not. And people pleasing her, but I know that's not anyone else's, that fault.
Right. So what are you still struggling with, do you think?
I'm definitely still struggling with my perception of, I don't feel confident in myself, how I look. That would be a massive thing. And I am getting better with boundaries, much better, but I still struggle a little bit with that.
Okay. So self-confidence, self-image, self-perception. How do you see yourself?
So I see myself as, in a self-image way, as overweight, and I've always had a bigger chest than my friends. That was really pointed out to me in a negative way by my mother. So that's something I've always been ashamed of. So I'd say I feel ashamed of my body.
You say overweight. Are you actually overweight, or are you?
I don't know, 'cause I don't weigh. I feel like I'm a bit overweight, not massively, but overweight, I would say.
Would you mind telling me like what clothes size you wear, or?
I wear like size 14 on top and then size 12
Okay.
on the bottom.
So 14 on the top and then 12 on the bottom. Okay. Do you look at me and think I'm overweight?
No.
Mm-hmm. And yet you are wearing about the same size as me, right?
You know, I've got a really flabby stomach. My legs are, I can see like that my legs aren't, but I know that my stomach is. And I think that when, yeah, I kind of know as well that if I lost loads of weight, I'd probably still feel the same.
Right. So if you were thinner, you would still perceive yourself as what, do you think?
Well, I've definitely been thinner and felt exactly the same as I feel now.
Okay. So it's nothing to do with your body.
Yeah.
How does it help you to think about yourself in this way, do you think?
I don't know. I kind of know, and especially know more so now, that it's my mother's voice. But I think I was just shamed for it so much growing up that it's just stuck, even though I know that it's not helping me. So
it is helping you in some way, because you wouldn't do it if you weren't, if it wasn't. That is the rule about behaviour. We don't do things, even if they hurt us, we still only do things that give us some kind of reward. So what does it protect you from to think of yourself in this way?
I actually don't know. I mean, if I think about it from when I was, say, my late teens, early 20s, I'd say maybe, or not maybe, I'd say like rejection, because like all I ever wanted was a boyfriend. And now I know why that was the case. I didn't then. And then I had like I've had a load of really awful relationships. I'm in a really loving relationship now.
Great.
So I feel like rejection maybe when I was younger.
Okay. So it protected you from rejection to think about, so you reject yourself before they can reject you. Did it stop you getting into relationships?
I didn't have like my first boyfriend until I was 21. So I would say, I was, like painfully shy, wouldn't speak to anyone, get drunk, have one night stands, hoping that it would lead to something else. And of course, it never did.
Do you know what? I imagine there are many people who listen to this podcast and think, or did the exact same thing, that if I sleep with them, then they'll love me in the end.
Yeah. And I don't even think that was a conscious thing at the time. I just,
it was a way to prove to yourself you were wanted.
Yeah.
And yet it kind of kept proving that you weren't, because then they wouldn't stick about.
Yeah.
And then what would you feel about yourself?
Disgust.
Right. And the reason you would feel disgust is not because of what you were doing being wrong. It's your body. You get to choose what you do with it. But because it wasn't, because it was showing you that you weren't, and I, in massive air quotes around, lovable.
Yeah.
Because they wouldn't leave me. They would stick about if I was.
Yeah.
Does that make sense, or no? Does that feel right?
It does, yeah, definitely makes sense. And I think as well was just that I was really lonely. And yeah. And
invisible.
Yeah. I mean, I'm definitely I've got an older brother who is definitely golden child, and I'm scapegoat, but I also think that there were times where I was like invisible as well.
Right. Well, anyone that grows up in these systems is invisible by just circumstance, on the grounds that you're only allowed to show the bits that are deemed acceptable, even if that means faking those bits, right? Because you put in your email, the good girl speech in terms of your therapist and talking to your therapist, and I hear that as I had to play a role.
Yeah.
Is that fair?
Yeah, I definitely felt I had to play a role, and, you know, all the classic lines of not to say anything outside of the household. I was fabricating. I think I've suffered with that in my old years as well. So like, if something's unfair, I really want to speak up, especially in my work. And then I'll really worry, like, oh, am I just being the troublemaker? Because my mother would call me a troublemaker if I spoke the truth. Am I just fabricating? And that still is with me a little bit now.
So if you called something out, this was you making stuff up?
Yeah, 100%. So my dad, who is an enabler, he would drink too much, and sometimes, well, a lot of the time really, there would be huge arguments. I now think with hindsight that my mother kind of would make sure that happened. But then when I got to the age of about 16, and then I would try and speak to my mother about it, and then she would just blow up and say I was fabricating. And I'd just be really confused, thinking, oh, I know that, you know, she would have confided in me about it like the other day.
Right.
And then she would tell me I was fabricating. The church that she belongs to, when I was 15 or 16, she went to Romania and on a kind of a mission thing. And she asked me to keep a diary of my father's drinking, which I did. And then she like ripped it up in my face and told me that I was fabricating.
So wait, so she asked you to keep a diary of his drinking. Then when she came back, denied ever asking you that, and then
I can't remember if she denied asking me to do it, but she destroyed it and said that I was fabricating.
What, as in how much he had been drinking?
Yeah, and it always behaved, yeah.
So that she could keep denying it? Or do you know?
I mean, now I believe that it's just that she could make me out to be, you know, the troublemaker of the family. I don't know.
So she could perpetuate this narrative of you being a shit stirrer, essentially.
Yeah. And also another thing that she's done, like up until the time of me going no contact, actually, is will then just flat out say, oh, well, I don't remember that. So, I mean, I can't remember now because this was years ago. I was like 15 when this happened. But she may well have said, oh, I don't remember asking you to do that. It would be that kind of thing. And then it makes you question yourself.
So gaslighting you around her behaviour.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask you a left field question, which I love to do. What is happening for you right in this moment now? How you're feeling and thoughts and fears or anything?
So I feel nervous talking about it. And I actually think, even though I know that this isn't true, did I imagine it all? You know, I know that I did it.
Okay. What are you fearful that I might say or not say?
I don't think I'm fearful about that. I just think I feel fearful because that's how I always felt talking about it, I think.
Okay. In terms of here and now, is there anything that you are holding back?
I don't think so.
Okay. No big deal. I'm just checking.
Yeah.
In terms of, are you connecting to the emotion of it?
Maybe not.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, in therapy sessions, usually whenever I talk about my family, I am in floods of tears.
Okay. And right now you're smiling like it's the greatest thing you've ever talked about.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm sensing a disconnect, which is why I'm asking. Because it feels like there's a disconnect going on, and I'm wondering about you, emotions, what it's like in this space with me.
Yeah.
And if there's anything I can do differently or that you need.
I do feel like I'm disconnected to my emotions.
Why do you think that might be? What is the fear of connecting to them? And I mean, you said before we started something to me.
Yes.
And I'm not going to say it because it's yours to say.
Yeah. So I want to really speak clearly, and I'm afraid that if I start crying, then I'll cry for a long time.
That's okay though.
Yeah.
What we're talking about is really painful stuff.
Yeah.
To carry around a self-loathing that was taught to you by your mother is painful. And for me to help you properly, I need to know where those emotional hotspots are.
Yeah.
So that I can follow them to the root.
Yeah.
Which is why I asked the question about like what's happening now, what's going on. Because without your emotion, I don't get to see you, do I?
Yeah.
Nobody does in any relationship. That's not just therapist and client or, you know, this situation. It's anybody in any relationship when we don't reveal any emotion or our honest, authentic emotion.
Yeah.
We remain invisible. And then I wonder how you would feel if you left this session having never shown me any emotion and therefore felt invisible again.
Yeah.
In a space that is entirely designed to see you.
Yeah.
How would that feel?
Yeah, that would feel not good.
Not good.
Yeah.
Any other?
I'd be annoyed with myself.
Okay. How anxious are you feeling?
Quite anxious.
Okay. What is the threat right now?
I don't know really. I think it's just I'm not 100% as relaxed as I would be if it wasn't being recorded.
Okay.
That's how I feel.
Okay. And so I can't change that bit. But what else in the environment might your brain be saying, this is dangerous about?
I would be afraid of my mother knowing that I was doing this.
Why? What would happen?
I don't know, but, you know, I've written for advice or support on liberation, you know, on Facebook, and I always do it anonymously because I would just worry if that ever got back to my mother.
Because what would she do?
I don't know. She's unpredictable. I'd be worried that she could try and, you know, get a solicitor involved, or I don't know. I always feel like with my mother that she never fails like to shock me.
She never fails to shock you in terms of her
behavior,
reaction?
Yeah, her reaction, what she'd say or do.
What is it that she could actually do that you are scared of happening?
I would be worried that she might try and like sue me. I don't know if that is a thing.
Okay, so well, imagine she's tried to sue you. What would she sue you for?
For like slander.
Okay. And when you say slander, do you mean as in because of what we're talking about?
Yeah.
And so if she found out, obviously we've anonymized you, we're going to change your voice. Here's the thing. How would she know it was you?
Yeah, she wouldn't.
Well,
or she could
maybe she would, but
yeah.
It's highly unlikely that somebody would say or file a sort of suit on the grounds of, I heard you on a podcast talking about me. And I'm wondering if you see why that might be.
Because they would be hard to prove.
What would they have to do to prove it?
Oh, admit to things that I'd said, yeah.
I know that's you talking because you're talking about that time when this thing happened. Oh shit, I've just admitted the thing happened, therefore it's no longer slander. Plus you're anonymized. So there's a double like layer of confession, I suppose, in that, right?
Yeah.
So now how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I feel more relaxed about that.
Okay, good. So coming back to the feelings, Because there's still a disconnect, right?
Yeah, I'll tell you what I feel like. So I'm a teacher and I feel like this when I'm being observed.
You're performing.
Yeah.
Who are you performing for?
I don't know.
Is it me? Is it the audience? Is it something or someone else?
I think it's just, being watched and listened to. And then worried what people make of it.
And it's actually interesting because you mentioned that in your submission, your application, the idea that, and before we started recording, that wherever you go, people are looking and watching. You're hyper aware of being watched.
Yeah.
And your assumption is that people will only think bad things.
Yeah.
Right. When did that start?
I mean, I think from really little, like, I remember being little and my mother was saying, oh, that man's watching you, or, like little things like that. And I remember at the age of going bra shopping and my mother like shaming me in front of people and saying, oh, she's big in front of people.
Over breasts that you have literally no control over how they grow.
Yeah, yeah.
Can you hear how ridiculous it is?
Yeah.
Did she have big or small boobs?
Really small boobs.
Right, so jealous maybe?
Yeah, well, my best friend's mum has always said that my mother's jealous of me, but I've never thought that up until recently when I've kind of put everything together. My mother will always really criticised how I've looked from, I mean, I remember having my tonsils out at 8 years old and an auntie coming over and giving me a little tube of Easter eggs. And it must have been I don't know, maybe a week after the operation, I can't remember, and eating these Easter eggs. My mother telling me to stop and to slow down because I was going to put the weight back on that I'd lost, and I was 8.
Jesus. Okay.
So I remember going to this is older, much older, just about 8 years ago, a friend's wedding, and I had previously been married in an attempt to escape what was going on. I married somebody in Australia that I met when I went travelling. And my mother just said the morning of the wedding, I was reading a poem at my friend's wedding, and she just looked at me and said, oh, you wouldn't get into your wedding dress now, would you? And pointing out that my skin was getting wrinkly, that my neck was starting to go, as she puts it. My skin was yellow or had wrinkles. And these are just ones that are at the top of my mind.
This is disgusting.
But there's been lots.
And lots of it.
Yeah.
That is... I just want to know, would she still fit into her wedding dress?
She probably would, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, she's definitely got issues with food. But yeah, she probably would.
So actually what she hated was what she was fearful of.
Yeah.
In you.
Yeah.
So what she hated in you was what she was fearful of for herself.
Yeah. I mean, I've really noticed that in recent years, actually, that I can understand that it was just all projection.
Doesn't stop it stinging.
No.
So she constantly cut you down.
Yeah.
Physically. Constantly pointed out possibly and likely highly imagined flaws that weren't actually things to worry about at all. And one of the things I wonder is, have you been able to separate her behaviour, her words, from you and your reality as a human being?
I think no, because I can rationalise and know that's not true. But then when I'm in a moment, especially on holiday, I think I put that in my application. It's strange, I don't know why, but when I'm on holiday, I feel disgusting and everybody's looking at me because I'm disgusting. And so my rational brain can say, like, that isn't necessarily true, but in the moment, that is how I feel. And then it puts me in a really bad mood. And I might be not very nice to my boyfriend, who was lovely. And I think that's the type of thing I really want to change. I just want to have more confidence or not care.
What would it mean if you didn't care? What would happen?
I think I'd enjoy myself more.
What would you lose, though? If we're talking about it, that we only ever do things because they benefit us. So how does thinking about yourself in that way help you, protect you, shield you?
I don't know. Unless I'm thinking that it's stopping somebody else saying it, if I'm
There's
thinking it.
definitely that I can guard myself against the pain of someone else saying something because I already think it's so hard joke's on them. I'm going to offer something. And obviously, again, if I'm wrong, by all means. I wonder if it's easier to hate yourself and blame yourself because of the way you look than to hate her for the way that she spoke to you like that.
I don't know. I don't know. I feel like I definitely have hated her for saying that, but then I've definitely believed it as well.
You smiled though when I said it. You said, "I don't know," and you smiled.
Yeah.
And I wonder, what was that smile about? What was happening?
I don't know. I guess it's because I haven't thought about it like that.
Okay. Did it hit at all? You know, like when somebody says something and you're like, whoa, did that happen at all or no?
No.
That's fine. Okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. So what else could it have protected you? If you were thinking it about yourself, how else does it help you?
I don't know. I feel like it doesn't help me. I feel like, again, and I guess this is coming back to protecting myself. I feel like out of like my friends, I've always felt like the ugly one, or what? Yeah, that comes back to protecting myself. I don't know how it would be helping me to believe that.
Sometimes we think these things, the way it could protect us would be if I'm super focused on it all the time, it won't happen. So if I'm thinking about my weight or my looks or all of this stuff, I'll never put on weight because I can't trust myself not to put on weight. Does that resonate at all?
I don't know.
Okay.
I definitely would feel like I can't trust myself to not. I mean, my weight is very like up and down.
Right.
So yeah, I feel like.
Who would you be without that concern?
I feel like if I didn't have that concern, I would just be happier and more confident.
Is there any fear at all when I say the idea that, like, oh, okay, we can just go in and extract that and take it out of your brain and you'll never think like that again? What happens?
I know I would like that, I think. Yeah. Yeah.
There's something, I feel like there's something we're not getting to with it.
Okay.
What do you think?
I don't know, because I've never spoken about it like this.
Okay. Did it feel too foreign to connect to?
Yeah, I think that I've grown up thinking these things about myself. And I believe that they're true. I believe that it's my mother's projection, but I do also believe that it's true, if that makes any sense at all.
Well, it's not logical though, is it? It does make sense. I understand what you mean, as in I interpret it, but it's not logical though. So it's your mother's projection. Is it a way to feel like you're still living up to the good girl standard and it's a way for you to win her approval if you hate yourself and your body as much as she did?
I don't think so, but I don't know.
Okay. And then what about the idea of, how did your mother talk about women who didn't think about weight or who didn't care?
She's always talked about like notice weight. I remember watching Dirty Dancing with her again. I was about 8 or 9, and she said,
Wow.
bearing in mind that my mum is like this, and then
Right.
she said, like,
For those that can't, like, so she's really skinny.
yeah, she's
Is that
very
right?
petite.
Okay.
And she said, look at all these like lovely slim girls, not like us and our family, or words to that effect. So she's always pointed out people that she thinks are slim, or laughed at people that she would think of as big. And yeah, one of my friends, like my best friend, is a really good looking girl, and she'd always make a point of saying, oh, there's nothing in her at all. So I think, yeah, I've never heard her celebrate another woman.
So if a woman was good looking, dressed nicely, slim, what would your mother say about them? But also didn't give a fuck what people were saying or not saying.
Well, I could imagine her saying to me, oh, look how look how lovely that woman looks,
right,
in relation to me or us, if that makes sense. Like, they're slim, we're not.
It's the we. There's an enmeshment in the we. I just wrote down then, and I don't know if it's related to this or it would just, sometimes things spark thoughts, but that you get them to love you by hating yourself.
Yeah.
And if you had loved yourself, if you had been like, I am the shit, look at me, I am sexy, and I can like rock around and I can be a different body shape, but still be as hot as fuck, how would she have treated you?
She'd hate it, and that's just reminded me of something, actually. So about it be coming up to two Christmases ago, my partner and I visited them, and I was actually feeling good, and I had on like a sparkly skirt, and as soon as I came through the door, my mum was wearing a jumper which used to be mine, and I said, oh, I forgot I'd given you that jumper, and like, it's really nice. And she said, don't be so silly, this isn't yours, you would never have fitted into it. And it was literally like I hadn't even, my body hadn't come into the house. And then she said, it's a size 10. And then later on, I was sitting on the sofa, and I knew it wouldn't be a size 10 because I don't buy size 10 tops. And I looked at it and I said, oh, it's not a size 10. Why did you think it was? And she just like kind of looked away and said, oh, I don't know. So yeah, and I'm sure that's probably how it was growing up. I never saw it. If I was showing any kind of happiness or confidence, she would have made sure that I didn't feel that way for long.
So it was dangerous to think good of or well of yourself.
Yeah, like that's definitely resonating.
What were the dangers? What would be the danger?
I don't know if my mother ever said these actual words to me, but like, who do you think you are? So I don't know if she has ever said that to me in the past, or if that's just...
I mean, it's highly likely that was said to you, right? Who do you think you are? But even if it wasn't, that was the vibe that you would get, right?
Yeah.
And she would... So when I was asking about women who think, who are all like dressed up and nicely and clearly confident about who they are in their body, I was trying to find out whether she would devalue them, diminish them.
Yeah, if she could see that they were confident, she would say, oh, I don't see anything in them. Like, yeah,
So she would demean them immediately.
Yeah, yeah.
So you knew then that for you to think positively about yourself risked her rejection, humiliation, shaming of you.
Yeah, and I haven't thought about it like that before, but that makes sense.
So to think well of yourself means what?
That like I'm wicked or yeah.
But also not just wicked, but it's also interesting. That's a really interesting word to use. Wicked rather than bad, obsessed rather.
Yeah.
Wicked. Because why?
Just having, you shouldn't think about yourself like that.
If you had been confident about your body, you would have risked her abandonment, wrath.
I think I would have risked abandonment, yeah, and her mocking me. And I think she'd be angry as well.
What would she have done in her anger?
I think she would have just told me back down and, yeah, made me. I mean, I am remembering being dressed up for nights out, and she would like look me up and down and say, "Oh, please say you're not going out like that. You look terrible. You look terrible." And only now I'm older and I've got friends with teenage daughters that I just see how bad that is, you know.
Right.
But
no, go on, carry on.
I said at the time, I just thought, "Oh, I look terrible."
So you just believed her.
Yeah.
Now, what do you think about it?
Now I can see what she was doing, which is confusing as to so why can I and that's I suppose one of the things I wanted to really get out of this as well. So if I can like rationalize that, then like, yeah, why does it still affect me so much?
So if you could understand the intellectual reasoning for the behavior, why can't you change your reaction or behavior yourself?
Yeah. I would say I almost get anxious about, not that I go out in the evening loads, but if I was going out, I get anxious about getting ready, because I always just feel rubbish, and it really affects me in the moment.
I imagine it ruins quite a lot of the night, and you miss out on the whole fun of getting ready, or especially in younger years.
Yeah.
And it steals joy from you.
Yeah.
So I come back to, again, how is it helping? Because if you've got the intellectual understanding, that means we need the emotional understanding. When you think about yourself in that moment where you're feeling it, how old do you feel?
Like 16, 17.
Okay, tell me about 16, 17-year-old you.
So 16, 17-year-old me was just, confused, depressed.
What was going on in life at that time?
So that was when my father was drinking a lot, and there'd be big arguments in the house.
Between who?
Between my mum and my dad.
So dad was drinking lots, mum and dad arguing.
Yeah.
Mum arguing. So then how did that impact you in the home?
Gosh, I don't know. I mean, I used to spend a lot of time at my best friend's house, and around the same time as well, I've got an older brother who still lives there, and this is quite complicated to talk about. I don't even know if I can articulate it properly. So he is also a narcissist, and he is a qualified doctor, but it's never practiced, and he has...
Sorry, he's a doctor, but he's what?
He's never practiced, so he qualified years ago, but never practiced, and he's always said he's never worked, and he's always said that he's really ill with ME, which he might well have, but he would have like really he's really abusive basically, and would have huge rages, and my mum like tiptoed around him, so that was like another kind of, so my house didn't feel like a safe place at all when I was that age. I used to walk to a phone box, about a 15-minute walk in my pajama bottoms, and my best friend's dad would come and pick me up. I can't like remember different incidents, but that would happen.
Because of whose behaviour?
Everybody's, I think, like my dad's, mum's, and my brother's.
What was it like to be in that situation?
Like terrifying.
Terrifying?
Yeah.
What were you scared would happen?
Well, I think then I saw it as my father's fault, even though now I know that's not the case. So I think I saw him as the really bad person who was...
Let me interrupt you for a moment. Did you hear what my question was?
How did I feel? Was it how did I feel?
No, I asked you what you were scared of happening.
Scared of oh, so I was scared of, at that point, of my dad hurting my mother. But I feel like now I know that wouldn't have happened.
Never mind now, but then you were scared of him hurting her.
Yeah.
Well, hang on. I'm sorry. I'm just pausing you just because they were arguing. He was drunk. What would, just out of interest, what would start the arguments?
I don't know, because he would come back from the pub and then they'd start arguing. So I never know what started them. But I now feel like I know my mother would have, what's the word?
Baited?
Yeah, that's the word.
Because that's what I'm wondering, is whether or not she baited him. So we're talking, he's coming back from the pub, what, at closing time, so 11?
Yeah, probably, yeah.
Well, like 11:30 after drinking up and everything. So he's coming back at 11:30 and she's staying up waiting for him. Then a row ensues. You then sneak out the house down the road to the phone box.
Yeah.
You're terrified that he's going to hurt her. Were you terrified that you would get hurt?
No, I was never terrified I would get hurt.
There's something else. The bit that I'm missing, I think, is, or not missing, but the bit that's not logicking is that you called your best friend's dad or best friend and her dad would come and get you. When or where did anybody suggest calling the police?
No one did.
And you didn't think to either?
No. I mean, they were, as far as I know, like never like violent. I think that, again, my brother...
No, sorry, this is me and picking holes and pushing. And so there was never any physical violence that you are aware of or remember. But it was scary enough that you wanted to get out of the house.
Yeah.
And that you thought that he was going to hurt her, despite him never having done that before.
Yeah.
That you can remember, or that you are. So we could be wrong about that, but that as far as you remember, no physical violence took place. Did you ever intervene? Did you ever say stop arguing or any of that sort of thing?
Yeah, and again, like it would have been over a period of time from like being 15 and then 19, and there was physical violence in that. I know that my dad I remember hearing my mum shouting, "Oh, get off me!" and I went in there, and he had like kind of pinned her onto the bed. But I know this isn't about like defending my father, but now I feel like I can imagine she was pushing him, baiting
him again.
Yeah. And my brother, he used to go into rages and like try to fight with my dad and like he did karate and pinned my dad against the wall. All these things are so like jumbled in my mind because there's a lot of them.
So your brother would get involved at what point?
Not necessarily about, this could be like a separate thing. My brother just would just go into his own rages about himself.
And what's the age gap?
He is 4 years older than me.
So he's 4 years old. So he's around 20.
Yeah.
They are fighting enough that you're running away. Did anybody ever notice that you're running away?
I don't know whether I used to call her when I was there to say, like, she would know I was there, because then she'd make a big thing about saying, like, she wanted me home and I should be home.
It feels like there's a piece missing. Do you feel like that, or is that just my perception?
Yeah. And it is really hard for me to, like, remember it and put it all together, because it was just always crazy stuff, like crazy stuff.
No, go on. Crazy stuff.
And so, like, when there was definitely times where I'd call my friend's dad to get me after that kind of scenario, but then also just during other crazy arguments as well that would happen. I remember being in my pajama bottoms and walking there. I remember my mother getting me and my brother up out of bed, and I think I was younger then, and like walking us down our grand's one night, and a bit like history repeating itself, my mother's brother, who is very narcissistic but also has a temper as well, still lived with my gran, and him like being like violent and saying like, "I'll bring your troubles down here." So all these things are quite untidy in my brain, like, you know, because there's so many.
Well, so what's really interesting is there's no pattern to the violence or the arguing, which I think I'm right, is fairly unusual. Like typically, I mean, the pattern of him going to the pub and then there being an argument, that's a pattern there. If you're scared of rejection, of saying no, have no idea how to trust people, you're not alone, and you don't have to heal alone either. That's what the Hub is for. It's a membership community designed for survivors just like you. Every month, we dive into powerful courses, we hold live calls and connect in a supportive, understanding space so you can break free from the past and build healthy, fulfilling relationships. Maybe it's time to stop surviving and instead start thriving. Visit jointhehub.ac today using the code POD20 to get £20 off your first month's membership. I can't wait to see you there. Take care. Bye. How much of this was her telling you and you remembering?
I would definitely hear him, because me and my brother actually used to call them like drunken freakies.
Right.
So I would definitely hear it.
What would you hear?
Just hear them just shouting.
But it was always on your dad, not ever on your mum.
No, I remember my dad's voice like really shouting. I don't know what he was saying. I remember they argued about, again, I don't know if this was, it must have been after him being in the pub, because otherwise I don't think they'd be out arguing, really. I don't know, but he used to, probably to get away from it, used to go bell ringing in a church. And I remember my mother, who goes to a different church, kind of saying to him, like, knocking him for that. And then I distinctively remember my father saying, because I thought, oh yeah, that makes sense. He was like, yeah, but everybody, whatever anybody believes is right to them. So she was kind of saying like, and that was in some kind of argument as well.
So she was mocking his spiritual belief, and then he was kind of going, what's right for me is right for me.
Yeah.
So he was being really measured and fair about that kind of aspect. So tying it back then to what you felt about yourself, and what you feel about yourself. Earlier when you were talking about the chaos and you said you can't, it's all really jumbled. And I said, well, let's just stay with that idea then, was where I was going to go. In that, if we just stay with the chaos and what it's like to live in an environment like that alone, never mind what's being directed at you, but just growing up in chaos, we look for anchors. Sorry, that was just a little like, I wonder if did focusing on your looks, your body, and does focusing on it give you any sense of control?
Yeah, maybe it does. I just feel like, sorry if I'm repeating myself, I just feel like it's just what I've been told. And then because I've heard it so much, it's just what I believe.
But that gives you such a disempowerment.
Yeah.
Can you see why I think like that?
Yeah.
I've got no control over it. It's just how I think about myself, and that is just what I was taught to do.
Yeah.
So you remove your own control over the behaviour, which in turn means it's protected for some reason.
Yeah.
And so what I'm trying to find is why we're protecting it.
Yeah.
And I come back to what it would be like to not have it anymore.
I feel like if I didn't have it anymore, then what would I not know? Question who I am. If it's
what would
me.
I not know? Go on.
If that's such a part of my identity, then if I didn't have it anymore, would I not know who I am? But I feel like if I didn't have it anymore, I don't see anything scary about not having it anymore, but I don't know if I'm completely missing something.
When you were saying that about identity, is that because of what I've said, or is that because you think it might be under there without you realising?
It might be under there without me realising, because I guess it has, I hadn't thought of it like that, but I guess it has been such a big part of my identity that I see myself like that.
So, yeah, what you lose by letting go of it, even though you can see practically and intellectually it's going to be a brilliant thing, emotionally, what does it do?
I don't know. I find it really hard to answer it, because I feel like if I did let it go, it would be freeing for me.
It would be freeing for you. Okay, let's talk about freedom. What does freedom feel like for you?
Freedom in the way that I would be in the moment and enjoying myself, instead of being stuck up in my head and worrying.
So freedom in the way that you would be in the moment instead of stuck in your head and worrying. And if you were stuck in your head and worrying, by being stuck in your head and worrying, what does it help you avoid thinking about? When there's all this noise about your body and what it looks like and what it doesn't look like, what people are thinking about you, what does it stop you feeling or thinking about?
Gosh, I don't know. I'm so used to thinking that way. I don't know what it's stopping me thinking about.
So there's another part, which is that it could just be a habit. That it's just so normal and normalised, but I don't think it is, on the grounds of how bad it makes you feel, how it's connected to that period of time of chaos, it seems. There's potentially a connection to yourself or your mother or something. I'm coming back to the connection with your mother and if you were to think about yourself well.
I would maybe feel like I was being naughty. Like,
Oh, really? Right, okay. So you'd think that you were being naughty, potentially, but also, go on.
yeah, I think that, yeah, that's a good point then. Yeah, because I feel like I shouldn't be confident.
Okay, because that makes you what?
I can just like hear my mother's voice, like kind of being like, oh, she thinks she's everything and she's not. So that kind of.
So it's better to think of yourself badly rather than invite her scorn.
Yeah.
So if you were to say, yeah, it was dreadful and gross and vile, and the way I've been treated is vile, what then would happen?
Yeah, I don't think that I actually say that out loud, actually, even though I know it. And yeah.
So you don't validate it yourself either?
I thought I did, but then I don't actually. I'll talk about experiences that happen, but I guess I wouldn't say that was awful. That what happened to me. I don't think I speak like that.
If you were to say that, what would it? Well, would you like to try and see how it feels?
Yeah, what I went through growing up wasn't good, and yeah, it makes me emotional.
Okay. What does it feel? What's the feeling?
Very sad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, very sad.
Are there any other words or feelings there as well?
I mean, I don't feel angry now, but like I've definitely felt angry.
Mm-hmm.
And I've felt like disgusted. Like when I actually like realized that my mother is like a narcissist, and I even feel funny saying that, like I'm like betraying her or something. Then like I was with my best friend in the car, and I just literally like cried like a baby. We were driving somewhere because I couldn't believe that it was true. And then I just felt like I'd been like, which I have been, like duped like my whole life, different things that have happened.
Right. And so to say it out loud means seeing the magnitude of it.
Yeah.
And that feels what?
It feels shocking. Unbelievable.
Yeah, shocking, unbelievable.
And just sad, like very sad.
Sad, shocking, unbelievable. That was the reality of your childhood.
Yeah.
Before you went to therapy and before you kind of saw the stuff that said that this might be your mother and her behaviour, in fact, the whole system, what did you think and feel about your childhood and yourself up to that point?
So I always thought I had a dysfunctional family.
Mm-hmm.
I never thought of it as being my mother, who was the main problem, and that's what it is. So for years, I thought it was my father because of his drinking. Mm-hmm. Then I thought it was my brother because, I mean, loads of stuff has gone on around my brother. So I thought it was him. And I never thought of it as being my mother. And I suppose I definitely, and I just thought that me and her had I can't think of the right word to describe it, and like an up and down relationship.
A roller coaster type relationship.
Yeah.
So you knew it was dysfunctional, but you thought it was because of your father's drinking. That you knew you had a rocky relationship with your mother, but it sounds like you thought you were part of the reason you thought you were contributing. It was 50-50.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, my gran, my mum's mum, who I actually had a really good relationship with, and my memory of her is loving and lovely. My gran used to say to me, like, "Oh, you always get the blame." So that was, and she'd say, "Oh, you." And actually, now with hindsight, I can see anyway that my mother hid what she was like with me to my gran, and made out like I was like a troublemaker, because I also remember my gran saying, well, she's not like that when she's down here, because I used to sleep over there every Friday night.
You used to sleep there every Friday night with your granny?
Yeah, until I was like probably 15.
And then at 15, you were witnessing these arguments?
Yeah.
When would they happen, on a Friday, or was that random?
I think it was random. Yeah. And
I just wondered if there was a hiding of stuff going.
Yeah, something that I wanted to explore with the therapist I've seen over the years is that I didn't understand. So, like, they would happen whenever they happened, but I remember being young, and if it didn't happen, that would unsettle me, and I wondered why. It was almost like I got security from that happening. And I never
Interesting.
I never understood it, and I think I've started to now. In that I guess that was my normal. Is that right? And yeah.
Well, it was familiar, right? It was predictable. So if we go back to the idea of you and your body and the way that you felt about it, and it, when I asked you how old you felt in it, you said 16, 17. And I said to you that the idea of there being this kind of chaos ball, and then there's this very dominating focus around yourself and your body and ways you could control, or even something to think about potentially, that wasn't what was happening at home. Is there any truth to that idea?
I think, yeah, there must be, because around that age as well, I did go through a phase of making myself sick.
Okay. See how you're minimizing that?
Yeah.
So you developed bulimia.
Yeah, and that's it. I don't even think of it as, see it as a phase of making myself sick. I would never have said that I was bulimic. Okay.
So what's it like to hear me label it like that?
Strange.
Okay. Because?
Just because it didn't progress into anything serious I didn't keep on doing it.
How long and how often were you doing that?
So I think it was around the age of 15, 16. And I don't know if I did it continuously for a long time, or if I just did it when I felt like I'd eaten too much. I know that my mum heard me one evening, and she just got really angry, and she said, "If you're putting your hand down your throat in there, I'll come in and put my hand down your throat." That's what she said to me.
So she hears her child vomit, and instead of assuming that you were sick, as in you had a stomach bug, she immediately goes to the idea that you are inducing vomiting, and then goes to, if that's what you're doing, I'll do it myself for you.
Yeah.
Can you hear that?
Yeah.
Her reaction. Now, bearing in mind, so if you were 15, we were obviously 15 and the same age, eating disorders were a big thing then.
Yeah.
I remember very clearly it being spoken about a lot. I remember a lot of girls having anorexia around me, and I remember, this being a thing that was talked about. So she likely would have known what was going on. And even if she didn't, her response to hearing you induce vomiting, hearing you vomit, was A, to assume that you're inducing it, but B, to shame you and punish you, to threaten you.
Yeah.
That she would do it herself.
Yeah.
And how did that impact you around it? Did it change you doing it? Did it stop you?
I can't remember. I know that I used to run taps.
Right, so she couldn't,
So
nobody would
yeah.
hear.
But she also, and again, I'm sure this is classic, like narcissistic type behavior, is that then, so she would like shame me for being fat, but then also when it like suited her, she'd be like, "Oh, there's nothing of you if you know." So it was that confusion.
You would have been so bewildered.
Yeah.
Did you have any perception? In fact, we started the whole thing with you and I talking about body size, like clothes sizing and being overweight, and your perception of yourself as overweight. And you've got a really, your words, and you said to me, I've got a really flabby belly, I think you said, or tummy.
Yeah. I do. But like, yeah, I think that even if I wasn't, she'd said those things, but I think that there is truth in what I think she found something that she could say something about. I think that's how I see it. So I feel like
there was a truth in what she was saying.
Yeah. So I feel like if
and
I
therefore
was really,
she's okay to say it.
Yeah. Well, no, I don't think she's okay to say it, but I feel like that's why it's affected me like so much. So I feel like if I was really skinny, she would have been horrible about me being skinny.
I'm sure. But also you've told me that she told you there was nothing of you at the same time as telling you that you're fat.
Yeah, this is true. So
I'm not sure that tracks. But what's really interesting is whatever you looked like, she would have found fault. It's nothing to do with whether you were or were not big. It's everything to do with her needing to demean you, to bring you down. And have you seen the video I did about Snow White syndrome?
I might have done it. Is it a long time ago?
Oh yeah, like I need to redo it kind of thing.
It's done.
Well, it's a term I completely made up, so it's not like legal thing, as it were. This is entirely my creation. So you see this thing where sort of toxic narcissistic mothers do this thing where they are so threatened by their teenage daughter's looks overshadowing theirs that instead of allowing the teenage daughter to be young and bright and beautiful and whatever they might be, they crush every ounce of self-esteem. So even if they are the most gorgeous human that ever walked the planet, they will not believe it because all they're hearing is you're ugly, you're fat, you're ugly, you're fat, you're ugly, you're fat, or whatever it might be, or you've got one arm longer than the other. And so they develop a complex about the arm or whatever it might be. And this is because of that threat of if a woman who has been highly valued for her looks then ages and her daughter comes along and is better looking or, younger, because youth and beauty and all the trope around that and social conditioning and whatever dictates that young equals beautiful, right? And she would have seen that as intense competition for male attention. So to sabotage it or to stop you seeing yourself as having that value or that worth, she needs to tell you that you are all these terrible things. So you question your attractiveness as a result and therefore are no longer a threat. Now, some narcissistic mothers will see it in, or do it even more overtly, in terms of they will overfeed and then shame the child for being fat. They will only allow them access to ugly clothes. They'll deny any kind of makeup, any kind of enhancement that the child wants will be sabotaged in every possible way. Like, who do you think you are wearing that out? Like, everyone's going to stare at your ass. Instead of, oh my God, you look amazing. Telling you might be a bit cold in that. Do you want to take a wrap? Do you want to do this? Be careful of this thing happening because you are wearing a short skirt. And even though we're not going to victim blame, but we are going to make you aware that it makes you more vulnerable to predators.
Yeah.
Right? And just make sure you're with this person. We educate our daughters, which is dreadful that we have to. But do you see there's a huge difference between, here's something in terms of maybe let's help you with fashion and putting an outfit together, and let's destroy every piece of self-esteem you've got so that you don't threaten my position as the beautiful one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Does that ring true for you?
It does. Like, it does ring true. And she definitely was trying to just make sure that I didn't believe anything positive about myself. But then my mother isn't the type of person that wears like makeup or, you wouldn't think that of her.
She isn't the type of person that wears makeup, but you've also told me she made a real, she was really thin and she kind of made a point of that.
Yeah, she definitely wants to be small. And like food was always like a massive thing. She'd say crazy things like, oh, I've had 2 slices of bread today.
I'm a morally reprehensible person.
Yeah.
2 bits of bread. Was she flirty? Did she flirt? Like, no. How did she dress?
No. I mean, I say she wasn't flirty, and she wasn't, but then there's like a man in the church that she went to, and she would like be really like laughy around him. Like, I think she liked him in that sense. But no, she definitely, because she, I guess, herself in that way hasn't got any confidence, I'm guessing.
Doesn't she? Don't know. Well, I don't know. Yeah. But what about clothing? Did she pay attention to what she wore?
No, like, a stereotypical, like, kind of, how, like, that kind of generation, it seemed to be like, when they got to like mother age, like, she wore like stereotypical like mumsy outfits.
I need you to explain to me what that is, and from your point of view, because I'm not sure.
Just like shin length skirts, like flat shoes, a blouse.
What was she before? Did you see photos of her younger?
I did see photos of her younger, and then she was like, I guess, trendy for that age. She'd have like mini skirts and stuff.
Right. So all I'm just wondering is, because you mentioned the church, and I'd sort of forgotten that aspect, and I wonder if she gave birth and then she has to be a mum, and this is what mums look like, and also the church aspect, and that, good churchy people, if she's Christian or whatever it might be, look like this.
Yeah.
And to look different would be to step outside of that kind of idea. And how much she was furious that you got to not fit into that mum role that she had created for herself.
Yeah.
We don't know what her motivation, and I'm making kind of guesses and assumptions, but what we do know is that she desperately just tried to destroy your self-esteem, and she succeeded.
Yeah.
And she found out that you were making yourself sick, and instead of, oh my God, darling, why are you doing that? This is so awful. It was, I'm going to help. I'm going to do it for you. I actually thought you might say that she was going to tell you off for wasting food.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be surprised if that had been in there somewhere.
Yeah, there was no care, or it was just, I mean, she didn't even, I'm sure I would have locked the door anyway, but she didn't even try to open the door from my memory. I just remember her shouting it through. I also remember it like taking me down to my gran's when I think I was around the age of 15, 16, and I was like refusing to eat anything much.
Right.
And she took me down my gran's almost like hysterical. And then I remember my gran making me beans on toast, and she's like, no, you've got to eat. But yeah, like, again, like really angry at me for not wanting to eat. But then, yeah, no care.
Finish the thought. No care.
No care. And also, I think now I'm understanding my mother more, again, with hindsight. I think it was maybe even more for my gran's benefit as well. But I don't know.
So, what do you mean?
Kind of like my mother was acting the victim in front of my gran, but I don't know.
See what I'm dealing with, that kind of thing, do you mean? Okay. Which in turn suggests you might have been trying to sabotage your relationship with your grandmother.
Yeah, I actually think now as well that was the case. And my gran died when I was 30, and my mother, on the day of the funeral, turned around and said to me that my gran always thought that I was a bitch. And
oh, she is outrageous.
I feel like that. I definitely didn't think of it like that at the time, but now being older and like looking back, yeah, I think that she would have been really jealous of my relationship with my gran.
And threatened by it.
Mm.
You know, I often say this to people and they're always quite shocked when I say it because they never see themselves as this thing that I'm about to say. But there is nobody in this world who needs to destroy somebody else and bring them down unless they feel inferior to them, threatened by them. She was threatened by you. And I wonder what you think of that.
I find it mind-blowing because I'd never ever thought that. And yeah, since going no contact, like, which was 20 months ago, then yeah, that has become like a thought, and I find it mind-blowing. I can't get my head around it.
That she was threatened by you because you don't believe that you could be a threat?
Just because, like, I'm her daughter, I can't believe that she would intentionally, like, I work with like little people and I just can't imagine that. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Because what does it say to you? What does it tell you?
That she, well, I guess the main thing is that, yeah, she, because she's incapable of it, but she did love me. So like through all my years, with a like turbulent relationship as I thought of it, I never thought that she didn't love me, even though I didn't feel loved. I never thought she didn't love me.
Well, that's because she kept telling you, didn't she, that she did love you?
She didn't actually often used to say.
Oh, sorry. I thought she had some.
But no, but then actually, like what she would do after like a big, when we did like a big argument or something had happened, this makes me feel a bit sick now, actually. She would kind of not properly hug me, but like, have a hand on me and be like, oh, we're best friends again, aren't we? And I love you and you're my best friend. And I had a feeling, which I never understood what it was, but really it was just a feeling, like, it didn't feel real, but I didn't know that. I was just kind of like, okay. So she would say it in those moments. And now I feel sickened by that, actually, because I know that was her trying to, well, yeah, just lie in, like, yeah.
And the enmeshment, the best friend bit.
Yeah.
I mean, no wonder you felt ick. It is ick. We're best friends again, with no discussion as to why or what had happened.
Yeah.
No, that best friend sort of thing, was that a normal thing for her to talk about?
No, so this would only ever be in the
Post-argument.
when I'd be so upset, I'd be like that kind of upset. So yeah, I mean, I'm guessing that generation aren't, I don't know though, like really amazing at saying, oh, I love you to their children. But like my mother, like never did. And I actually remember being in bed as like a little girl, so like say 8, and after being put to bed, shouting like, I love you, and then like covering my face because I felt embarrassed saying it and like wondering if it would be said back. I can't remember if it was or not, but it was never a comfortable thing.
But you knew that it was a risky thing to do.
Yeah.
You just said something there. There was a thing about the generation. And then I wanted to talk about that love idea. The idea that a generation or a behavior is excused because of the generation is so flawed. Now, there is a place at which where everything is so normalized, you know, this is quite controversial. Let's use slavery as an example. At the time, it was normalized. There were people that were like, this is not okay and this is wrong. But initially it was, and I'm talking about it not like way back. I mean, slavery has been part of human history for almost as long as humans have existed. It's not exclusive to America and plantations and black people. But obviously, most people use that as a point of reference. So I'm talking about that particular phase, because it was so brutal. There was such brutality involved with it, and it was so awful. And, you know, at that time, those people living in that space, it was normalized to. You just had slaves, right? They were your possessions. You did what you wished with them. Whereas, for example, at the same time, I believe at the same time in the UK, we were saying anybody who steps on English or British soil as a slave is immediately a free man or woman, free person. Yeah. So there was a voice of contention, you know, like that's not okay. We can look back now as a society mostly, and apart from total arseholes and bigots, and say slavery was a terrible thing. It was an awful, disgusting, horrendous thing, and the ripple effects of that are still ongoing. Is that true? Is that fair? Do you see that as a point?
Yeah.
So we can look back at those generations and say smacking was normal, and we can say maybe not saying I love you was normal, or sending your children up chimneys was normal, but we can still see it as bad and damaging now. Right? Whether it was normal or not is irrelevant. Doesn't excuse it, it doesn't justify it. It still impacted you negatively.
Yeah.
Okay? I also, from my subjectivity, don't see that as a normal thing of that generation. Now, cultures and stuff might be different, but not normal necessarily. And it's certainly not normal to ignore, berate, and demean and diminish your child.
Yeah.
Right? The other thing being about love, generally in these systems, in that it's one of the questions I get asked the most is, did they love me? Or I get I'm sure they loved me, or I'm sure they loved me, or even, I know they love me, but. And my answer to that is always no. They don't know you to love you. They don't care to see you. They project onto you an identity and expect you to live within that identity. And anytime you step out of it into your autonomy, you get punished and shamed and humiliated. Anytime that you are anything other than they want you to be, you get rejected or whatever it might be. But by that same token, it also means they didn't know you to hate you, to criticize you, to shame you, and to demean and diminish you. They didn't know you to know that enough, right? What I suspect in your mother's psyche may well have happened is she projected onto you all the bits of her that she did not like and then punished you repeatedly for it, right? Her fear of getting fat. And so she puts that on you and then shames you constantly for something that she probably is feeling about herself. What are you feeling as I'm saying this?
Yeah, no, all that makes complete sense to me. And I think that, that it's good to hear, because I kind of realised that, she didn't love me, and that's obviously been heartbreaking. But then it's also good to hear that she doesn't she can't hate me either, because she doesn't know me to hate me.
She doesn't know you. She didn't take the time.
Yeah.
She rejected every aspect of you that made you. And then tricked you into believing that she really did love you and know you and was trying to help you in some way. And that your reaction was the problem rather than the behaviour itself.
Yeah.
Right? The critical voice, the one that says everyone's looking at you, when it next pops into your head, I'm going to ask you to say to it, and so what?
Right.
Why do they get to decide whether I'm good enough?
Yeah.
Why do they get an opinion on me when they don't know me?
Yeah.
And if somebody is sitting there thinking badly about me on the grounds of my body that has carried me through this life and survived so much that I have been through, if they are judging and shaming me on that, I don't want them anywhere near me.
Yeah.
Can you hear that? Or
yeah, no, I definitely can.
what do you feel about the idea of saying that to it?
I feel like I could, because I think I don't, when that happens, I don't stop myself in the moment and I just spiral. So I'm just thinking about the time I was on holiday and I was opposite my partner, and then there was a man behind my partner, and I was just convinced that he was looking at me in disgust. And then that was that then. I just kind of shrunk into myself, and yeah. So I think
even if someone is looking at you in disgust, that's not about you.
Yeah.
Right? The thing that we get really caught in when we grow up in these systems is somebody is telling us constantly what our thoughts, motivation, character is. So we, for example, I don't know, forget to take the bin out. That is then evidence of our lack of love and care for the narcissistic toxic parent, right? Instead of just, we forgot.
Yeah.
Right? It's just a human thing that we forget to take the bin out. Fair?
Yeah.
So we get caught in this idea that other people get to decide our character, our thoughts, even our motivations, and that they know better than we do whether we're a good person or not. And you said at the end of your email, to talk about bringing in a doorknob comment at the end of the thing, but you said that there was a lot of spiritual abuse too, whereby I'm still terrified of dying and going to hell, although you've started to work through this a bit. What constitutes someone going to hell?
So in the church that my mother goes to, and I was going with her around that age of 15, 16, it is like not being a born again Christian, which is ironic because there's nothing Christian about my mother. But there's no she isn't who she is saying she is when she goes to church.
Right.
But yeah, it was very much about being a born again Christian. and being like saved, they call it.
Right. What does saved, sorry, just for clarity, what does saved mean?
It means repenting your sins, and, you know, you can, like, you know, they do believe it, like everybody's like a sinner. And if you believe in Jesus and you ask for forgiveness, then you are a Christian. But it was like a theme in, like, my mum would say to me as a little girl, like, oh, that's another black mark in the book for you. I remember going into hospital with stomach cramps, and she just standing over me and saying, like, oh, have you said your prayers?
I'm sorry, that is just the most horrendous thing. So she would tell you that anything that you did was another way God was going to send you to hell.
She'd say it as a joke, but obviously, like, as a child,
right?
Yeah.
You're not. And then you're in hospital, and she's asking if you've said your prayers.
Yeah.
So she used the church and the threat of hell as another way to get you to comply, and also then hear in that how you may well be constantly searching for reasons that you are a bad person.
Mm.
And if she's taught you that being thin makes you good, then it would make sense that anything that steps outside of that means that people might think you're bad, or you might think you're bad.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Right? So just as we're coming to the end, I'm wondering if you feel like you've had what you needed from the session.
Yeah.
If there's anything else that you need that we haven't covered.
I feel like, yeah, I've had what I've needed in that I feel like I've spoken more openly and honestly, probably, than I ever have. And that I've been more heard than I ever have. Yeah.
By yourself as well?
Yeah, definitely.
The thing is that all of this thinking, all these things that we put in place are to kind of protect us in some way around the whole like either being a bad person or being rejected or being shamed for who we are. But I'm going to go back to what I was saying before around other people don't know our internal mechanisms. And there are some people who want to believe things about us because of their own stuff. One of my very strong mantras is the idea that I will not waste energy trying to convince people who are determined to misunderstand or not believe me or want to believe something about me that I am not. Because whatever that thing is not about me in any way, shape or form.
Mm.
Because if people know me, and I mean, really, if they just have a conversation, they know that I never intend to cause harm. And that if you tell me I have caused harm unintentionally, that I will apologize and rectify and repair.
Mm.
But I can only do that if someone is willing to hear it.
Yeah.
And accept that maybe I don't have whatever motivation it is that they think I have, right? And the reason they might not want to believe that is because of their stuff, right? So now as you move forward, going through life, every time you hear that thought about your body or your looks or someone might be staring at you, the first is, who cares?
Mm. And
when it doesn't work because it's hard to break, it's, well, what's my next thought? Why do they get to decide who I am? I'm not a bad person. I know I'm not.
Mm.
And my body does not define my worth.
Yeah.
So it's giving yourself all these like challenges to those thoughts or why they're there.
Yeah.
Right? Because one of the other parts of this is that in that narrative, in that belief, in that self-talk, you are only perpetuating her abuse against you.
Yeah.
And that is a terrible thing to have escaped the situation, to only continue being the one that abuses yourself.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on that? Anything?
Yeah, like I've actually thought that myself as well, but then I get angry at myself for doing that very thing. Yeah.
Keep even like pile shame on top of the behavior in the first place. You have to remember, as you're doing that, when you notice you're doing it, the reason that you will have been or possibly started it would have been to protect yourself from her criticism. If I see it before she does, it won't hurt as much when she says it.
Yeah.
And then that you take that out into the world and maybe use that as a protective mechanism, because when you relax, perhaps that's when it's dangerous.
Yeah.
Because you don't anticipate the attack, and then those ones can hurt the most.
Yeah.
Wow. On that note, I imagine, are we good to leave it there?
Yeah.
Are you okay?
Yes.
Any final questions or thoughts that you wanted to?
No, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
My total pleasure. Thank you. Thank you for coming and sharing. And I guess, as ever, all that remains to be said is take care.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye-bye.